Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am your host Adam Hancock, and just like the title suggests, in today's video, I'm simply going to pull up a map of Sarasota and run you through everything you should know. Macro geography, where to live based on your lifestyle, the city highlights, everything in between. So I hope you find a ton of value in that. Before we do that, if you want to get any more engaged in my ecosystem, we have a lot going on and I don't really say it articulately all the time. But firstly, subscribing. I put out 2 to 3 videos here a week. You know, YouTube's kind of a stream of consciousness. The best way to see what's coming out in order is to subscribe. Secondly, I'm gonna put my contact information here below. You can text or call the phone number. You can go to the contact page on our website. You can email that number. We will find, or that address will find you in any way, regardless of your timeline, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate. Lastly, every Monday we put out a newsletter. It's incremental to anything else we're putting out. It's very lifestyle based. It's different every single week. So please reach out to subscribe to that. And we have a free resource tab on the website, free digital guides, downloadable analytical tools. We have maps, and that's gonna ever grow. So if you want any of that, please check out the website. It's all completely free, thesunshinestatecompany.com. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, folks, let's talk Sarasota, Florida. I am gonna do this pretty real time, and I'm gonna start with what's really special about this place is where it sits in the state as a whole. So that's one thing for Sarasota would really stand out. So let's say a little bit more macro. So Sarasota's right here, as you can see. You know, obviously Southwest Gulf Coast Florida based is how you wanna orient that thought. And you know, immediately to the north would be one perk. So St. Petersburg, Florida is a lovely city. It's 45 minutes north of here. And it's part of the Tampa Bay Metro. And then you have Tampa as a whole is about an hour, right? Including the Tampa International Airport, which sits around here. And that's where you're going to find your Clearwater Beach and your St. Pete Beach and all that. That's definitely a perk there to have in close vicinity without having to have the crazy traffic necessarily. The other way to go would be Orlando, which would be another major hotspot if you're not from here. That's about 2 hours and 15 minutes one way, so not too bad. Lakeland's becoming more in vogue in the middle as well, so something to think about. Then what you want to do, nothing really above there per se as a perk. Then you want to go south. So south's your other real advantage. So Sarasota South, Sarasota again here. By going south, the first thing, so you hit Cape Coral. Cape Coral is about an hour and a half. Fort Myers is about an hour and 20 minutes. That's another big metro. And then Naples would be your other real search topic here. Naples would put you about 2 hours one way because Naples actually is very far south in that Lee-Collier County conversation. And right below Naples, you're basically dropping into the water and the Everglades after Marco Island. But this is the area, if you're not super familiar. Again, I'm staying like real high level here, so apologize if you are familiar. But this is where you're gonna find Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel Island, Captiva Island, Boca Grande, with all the tarpon fishings right here. That's where you're gonna find all that. This is a lot of like the impact zone of the hurricane here, the recent one. All right, after that, finally, again, Sarasota's chock with geography incentives. So West Palm Beach, looks very far. West Palm Beach is only 3.5 hours one way. Miami, Florida is also only 3.5 hours one way. You got all that access because of the proximity. Then St. Augustine area is another spot that people really enjoy. That's quite a bit north, so that's way up here. St. Augustine is going to put you about 4 hours one way. At the oldest city in Florida, I think technically. Jacksonville's above that. And then even you're just about 6 hours one-way drive to Savannah, Georgia. So for Florida's conversation, beyond the Panhandle, which obviously is taking you way over there, Sarasota might be the best single location you could pick. If you're transient, you had to pick one and you want access to others in the conversation of Florida singular cities. Okay, in section 2 is what I'm calling kind of city highlights. So I'm going to give you a broad brush of basically all the reasons people are here, what the town is, and then we'll talk more specifically about living in the neighborhoods. All right, so let's start with, again, I'll center us here. Let's start with downtowns, right? The mecca of any town. So we have a couple different major downtown historical districts. One is downtown Sarasota. That sits right here. So if I zoom out, it's pretty north in the conversation of Sarasota County, because Sarasota County, we have two counties here, so Sarasota and Manatee. Sarasota County has Sarasota city limits. It has Northport, Venice, and Englewood are all in Sarasota, so it goes all the way down there. But downtown sits right here. It's very, very close to the beaches. 2.5 miles from Lido and 6 miles from Siesta Key one way. Second downtown you want to know about is on Venice Island. And that's right here. You can see here. So it's called Venice Island or historic downtown Venice. You can see the shape here is very unique. So if you're ever looking for it on a map, that's right here. It's about 45 minutes south of downtown Sarasota. So that's number 2. It's a historical downtown. There's a daiquiri deck there, like on Siesta Key, but very charming, very quaint. The third one I would consider like a town's downtown is, I have my list over here. A town's downtown would be Bradenton. That's kind of up and coming. So this area right here that gets on Manatee River is becoming quite cool. So you have some restaurants, you have some things going on here, but downtown Bradenton is going to be way north. So that's going to be your other one. There's like a little river walk there and a skate park and a splash pad. And so that's becoming more in vogue. And some of the most affordable real estate is the brackish river to access the Gulf. So that would be your adjacent beaches would be Anna Maria. All right, before we hop to the next section, if you're resonating with this video or any of the videos, even in the slightest, the best next thing you can do, download the free digital guide. It's in the description box below. I'll try to link it right here. 15, 20 pages, absolutely free. It's a flip book. Check that out, and without further ado, let's hop back in. Okay, now let's talk not technically downtowns, but manufactured town centers. And there's quite a few of them in Sarasota. So this would be the other place to get out and adventure. So where we're gonna go here is we're gonna go about 9 miles northeast of downtown Sarasota here, and rather right here. And we're gonna go towards Lakewood Ranch. And one of the stops on the way there is called Fruitville Commons. And that's a brand new area they're developing. Fruitville Road is the way to get to east to west. So you can't take the interstate to get to the beaches or to get to downtown. You got to take a cutover street east to west. Fruitville is your northern one right here. So along that line, there's a big corridor because people are traveling back and forth. And they're building a place called Fruitville Commons, which is mixed-use space and restaurants, and Cooper's Hawk Winery is there. And it's going to be a big build-out, right? And that gets you about 5-6 miles of downtown. So that's one. Then we move to like the more unanimously kind of popular known about one, and that's downtown Waterside. That's going to be in here. Here's the Lakes of Waterside here. That's where they do the farmers market. This is a proper downtown. I'll try to show renderings here too, but this is it starts to give you the reason of I don't need to go all the way to downtown Sarasota for non-chain restaurants and date nights and to take my kids out. There's a Good Liquid Brewing. There's an Osteria. There is a Core Korean Steakhouse. There's a new Mexican restaurant called Agave coming. There's fresh pressed juice. There's the Duck Donuts, Kilwins, etc. So that's in Lakewood Ranch. And then you have actual downtown Lakewood Ranch, which is right above here. So you see this kind of grid hopping streets. So above University is downtown Lakewood Ranch. It's kind of in the middle there. All right, what else? Then you have also have in that same vicinity, you have University Town Center. So if you go adjacent to Lakewood Ranch here, you have the mall at University Town Center. But University Town Center is a big project built by this family right here, the Bendersons. There's a big park there. That's where they do the crew rowing championships. There's a luxury mall that's kind of like in ways, it's much more like the International Mall in Tampa than it is like a local mall. It's pretty bougie, but they don't really have a food court, so they have all the restaurants outside of it. There's a bunch of stuff going on. It's both sides of the street. That's called University Town Center. All right, and then what we're going to do here is we'll go south. And we have one that's kind of like an old school Sarasota eclectic one, and that's Gulfgate. So Gulfgate has a village, and that's around this area here. Munchies is a restaurant in there, but it's cool. It's a lot of little restaurants, and there's a Gulfgate food and beer, and there's breweries in there, but that one's a little bit more eclectic than the newer ones being built lately. Then we have, if we keep going, we have one of the newest one and exciting ones coming to the area. It's called Downtown Wellen Park, and that's in that new master plan Wellen, and that's around this area. So that's going to be it's going to be kind of more like Waterside and Lakewood Ranch. So it's a proper downtown. They're building next gen stuff. It's going to be quite lovely, and it's surrounded by about a 10 neighborhood master plan area called Wellen Park, and that's called Downtown Wellen. It's aimed to launch in March 2023 is what they're saying. All right. Couple more here. So let's talk west of the trail would be the other mainland one. If you go up in this area, if this isn't boring you to death. So the trail is Tamiami Trail. It's US 41. So the interstate runs north to south, and US 41 here runs north to south as well. So that's the coastal version, and it's called Tamiami Trail. or US 41. So when people say west of the trail, what they mean is it's as far west as you can go because you're west of that road before you are actually in the water on the beaches. So it's a prime territory because you have everything. You have downtown, you have the beaches, you have amazing waterfront property. So west of the trail has a lot of like really in vogue neighborhoods right around this area. You have Hudson Bayou and McClellan Park and Bayview, Cherokee Park, all this area. There is a shopping district in that area called Southside Village. There's a Perk Coffee, there's a Legends, there is a Libby's, and that's a nice walking district, so that's in that area as well. All right, a couple more and I'll be done. Let's go to the beaches, right? So Sarasota just has a lot going on here. So it's a small area, but a lot going on. So there's now we have beach villages. So one of those is called Siesta Key Village. That's right here. Siesta Key is about an 8-mile long island end to end. It has 3 beaches. The main Siesta Key beach is one of those beaches. That's what everybody's familiar with. And that has a shopping district called Siesta Key Village. And it's like kind of what you picture when you picture a touristy beach. It's very beachy feeling. Pizza, Mexican restaurant, breakfast places. There's a daiquiri deck. There's a coffee shop. But it feels very, very beachy, the whole thing. Feels like you're very close to the beach. There's a little one called Crescent that's shopping district too, but not quite as large. The other big one would be right here. That's off of Lido Key before you get to Longboat Key. And that's called St. Armand Circle. You can see the circle here. That one is it's over 100, I think, vendors of some sort, but it's a little bit more upscale feeling overall. It's very, very walkable. It kind of walks just like this. You drive around. You can shoot to the beach. You can shoot to Marine Aquarium. But that one's a little bit more uppity up than what Siesta Keys Village feels like. Siesta Keys is going to be more like if you go all the way here to Anna Maria Island. It's the northernmost tip of Barrier Island before you go to St. Pete. So that has its own shopping district as well. And that was very quaint, very protected, feels vacation-ish. And I already mentioned Venice. Downtown Venice would be a beach one as well. All right, and lastly, if we talk medical, the big players when it comes to hospital and medical and all that kind of stuff, Sarasota Memorial Hospital System is definitely going to be the biggest around here, really. The main hospital is actually in that west of the Trail District. It's very close to the water. It's right here. They just built a brand new one down in the Venice-Nokomis line in this area rather, right there. That's like a new state-of-the-art one. So they're continuing going south, trying to attract doctors and staff there, and that's why a lot of the neighborhoods being built there are going to, it's going to get really big and new construction around this area to support that. And then Lakewood Ranch, Sarasota Memorial owns a lot of the independent little facilities around too. And then Lakewood Ranch has a medical center as well. Again, Lakewood Ranch is northeast, but hope that's helpful. That would be the highlight if you made me rattle off in one conversation of like, what is all the stuff? And then on section 3, I'm going to break down a little bit if you're a family, if you're retiring, if you're looking for affordability, what are 2 or 3 options to actually live in this town? All right, and lastly, let's talk where to live, lifestyle. I'm going to start with families. So the first one you have to kind of go to is, in your mind at least, is Lakewood Ranch, Florida. So we're going to go northeast here. The closest community of all of Lakewood Ranch, Florida, I'll try to be as brief as possible here, is Windward. So what you're spanning here is to town, is about 9 miles to 20 plus miles. It's a big area. Lakewood Ranch covers this whole area. It's the #1 multi-generational master plan community in the entire United States. There's over 30 communities that are started like a little bit in Sarasota County, mostly in Manatee, that are hopping roads. So the original Lakewood Ranch was built in this area here, and then now they're going this way east. So they're just replicating it. And a bunch of neighborhoods sprinkled all throughout. There's over half of those 30 you could still build a house in today. And there's something for everybody. There's water frontage. There's really good school districts. Lakewood Ranch High School is highly rated. You have Golet Elementary. You have Nolan Middle. There's Montessori schools out there. There is specialty schools. There's a public charter. There's golf neighborhoods. More affordable, kid-friendly neighborhoods. You got something for really everyone here. And what that's going to give you is it feels like a thing. It feels like it looks online. It feels safe. There's forced reasons people commune. There's multiple downtowns. There's a little league out there. There's soccer shots. It's got public parks. Over half of the acreage, I think it's 55,000 acres, over half of it was set aside for green space, parks, and recreation. So that's why that always hits that list, you know. And then this town, even though that looks really far, this town's condensed. The farthest you can get from the beach is really like 45 minutes, and that's only 20-something miles. So that's definitely one. Another way if I had a family, it would be if you wanted a similar vibe to that, a little bit more affordability, and you're just really in love with the beach. It's that Wellen Park area I mentioned. So if you go down here. What this area gets you is if you look here, if I could try to do it on a map here, if you look here, do you see how if you follow the interstate and you go down, you see the shape of the water? Everything gets closer to the water by just going south. It's really hard to get far from the water if you go south because of the shape of Florida. So by going down here, even East Venice or Northport in this area, it's very close to the water. So what Wellen is it's a little bit more boutique than Lakewood. It's I think 5 brand new neighborhoods now. There's about 8 or 9 you could still build in. I'll try to link some other videos here, but what it overall has a lot more price points from 400 to 750 to 8 versus Lakewood Ranch, where that's getting to a kind of a starting price point in a lot of realms. And they're building the downtown there, so you have kind of what Waterside has. But this whole area is 12 miles from from Venice Beach, Casperson Beach, which is the shark's tooth capital of the world, and Brohard Beach, which is the only dog beach. So what that gives you is it gives you what the master plan everybody loves. It's inclusive, it's all these things, but then it gives you beach proximity, which Lakewood lacks. So that's how I'd separate those two. And the schools are amazing. Venice Senior High is on this island. The high school's on the island, so I'm sure a lot of kids would love that. Pineview School for the Gifted is up in this area where it's very northern Nokomis. I think it's Osprey, technically. I think it's the #1 elementary school in the entire United States. It's a public gifted school you got to test into. Venice Middle School, Venice Elementary, Laurel Nokomis is a 9 or a 10 out of 10 K through 8. So good schools there too. And now you add the beach. The other way would be to go in between. So if you said like I love all the Sarasota stuff and I don't really want to go full suburban. I don't want to go Pleasantville. If you hug the interstate, a lot of the new construction's existing here. So if you get parallel to Siesta Key, then you can still build a house. It's not going to feel like there's 50 in a row that make a thing. That's not for everybody. It's an individual nice community surrounded by mature communities. And that's where you're going to see the Sky Ranches of the world by Taylor Morrison. You're going to see Sky Ranches right here. You're going to see Grand Palm by Neil. But again, like you don't get that far you get parallel to Siesta Key. So that's another way to go. Lastly, South Sarasota has really highly rated schools. It's just, it was the new kid on the block, but 20 years ago. So the Palmer Ranch area, the Golf Gate area, this area, it's very big in master plan, but only one neighborhood that you could build in today that's technically in the Sarasota part of Palmer Ranch, which is Promenade Estates. And this is Riverview High School, Sarasota Middle, I think catches that, Brookside Middle, Philippi Creek Elementary. It's highly rated schools. Really great spot in town as far as on a map. And then, I'll add more to that when we go to the next one. All right. So now let's talk retirees. So retirees, you could, if you like the suburbs it's multi-generational. So a lot of people retiring are like, I don't want to move to a retirement home or feeling like that. So you can move around youth without being in it. Basically, Lakewood Ranch would be a way to satiate that need. One, Waterside, its price point, its location, its county, does pigeonhole it a little bit where a lot of retirees end up there because you're almost in walking distance of everything and you have these big lakes, higher price point. But if you said 55 and up, Del Webb, which is Pulte's brand, builds in Lakewood Ranch. You have Crestwind, which is a 55 and up community for Coulter Homes, which builds a lot of condominium buildings. You could also go to Parrish and do a Del Webb Bayview for a little bit more affordability. But Lakewood Ranch, where to live it like a retiree, not like a family, it would also have that because it's so large. Venice is a known hotspot for retirees. It's a little bit slower pace, not near as much hustle and bustle. The downtown is very laid back and charming and artsy. I ran an analysis on walkable towns to the beach on the Gulf Coast. There's 25 towns I considered you could walk from your house to the beach. For owning real estate, Venice, Florida right here was the cheapest average and median price point, if and adding cost of living. Cheapest overall carrying cost for living in the entire Gulf Coast of Florida was Venice. So a lot of affordability for beach proximity there is something to consider. The beaches itself is a subject, right? We have variety. So my parents live on Siesta Key. It's kind of where I grew up. Siesta Key is 8 miles long, right? So you have Siesta Beach, you have Crescent in the middle, and you have Turtle at the bottom. Turtle's very residential. So that one has a lot of different ways you could live on that island. Longboat Key is much more residential feeling, a lot less touristy feeling. It's because the way you access the beach, the way it gathers. A lot of condominium buildings on Longboat Key. To get off the beaten path, you can go to Anna Maria. And if you want even a slower pace of life, maybe a little bit more affordability, you can go all the way down to Englewood, which is here, which is south of Venice. So beaches would be another way, with just a classic retirement. And then lastly, you can't discount downtown Sarasota. That's where I sit right here. I'm off of Pineapple and Ringling. It's my favorite downtown in Florida, and I've lived in a lot of them. It's charming, it's beautiful, it's clean. We don't have a work commute kind of traffic. It's very hospitality based. It's just lovely feeling all the time. Like I think it every day still. And you have some awesome ways to do that. So if you're in downtown Sarasota, you have classic historical options. You have Laurel Park, you have Burns Court. Those are historic bungalows, restored bungalows. Like they like the charm and the historics. The Rosemary District's up and coming. Condominiums, you have a lot of newer options that you could do. So you could do out at the Quay, you have a place called One Park. Golden Gate Point here, which is a peninsula, you can see here, has 688. They have a condo building called the Peninsula. You have the Edge, which is a new condo building in downtown. The Beacon, which is a unique one with pools on each floor. So, and then if you set a resale condominium building within walking distance, you have hundreds all in this little cluster here. So that would be what I'd look at for retirement. And then finally, let's talk affordability, if that even has a place in Sarasota. But just take perspective. I'm talking like cost advantageous ways to do things that are close to the things I just mentioned. One way to go would be to go, if people view Lakewood Ranch here going northeast of town as getting you out further because that's where the land's at and all that kind of stuff, if you take that on steroids and go to Parrish, which is here, it's closer than it looks, but Parrish is here. Then Parrish is they're doing to that what they kind of did to Lakewood Ranch. It's almost a junior version. There's a lot of communities that are in Lakewood. Their second community is in Parrish, and the one I'm highlighted here on accident is one. So Canoe Creek is the sister community for Windward. Del Webb Lakewood, there's a sister community called Del Webb Bayview. My guess is that it looks like they're going to build like a lagoon, a freshwater lagoon like they have in Tampa, in Parrish next. But you'll save hundreds of thousands of dollars on the same plan in Parrish versus Lakewood Ranch because it gets further, so people deem it as a sacrifice. That's one way to go. Same line of thought. Northport versus Venice. So Northport is east of Venice. It's a big area. There's not really a downtown. It's interesting, but people don't know how to get their head around it. But if you go east of what everybody views the number one option, then that is one way to save a lot of money. It's north, south, and east. If you get on the outskirts, you can have a benefit, and maybe it orients to your lifestyle. And then I'll give you one more example of that thought is on the same Venice conversation. If you go south of that and you go to Englewood, Manasota Key, Blind Pass, that area is going to be cheaper than Venice would be because you get further from all the Sarasota stuff. So because you go down here, you're not that far from Venice, but you're really an hour from Sarasota. So people deem it like you're going out, off the beaten path. But because of that, you will save money. You might say that's a good thing because I want a quieter atmosphere, etc. So that's what I'd sum that up as families, retirees, and cost advantageous. So I hope that was helpful. I just wanted to give a working tool, and we'll try to timestamp this so that you can actually follow how I talk. But the purpose of this was simply to blurt out everything I could think of that would be of value to you in Sarasota in a little bit different format than I typically do. So I hope you enjoyed that.
All right, folks, that is a wrap for this video. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so. Secondly, you're looking to buy real estate, sell real estate, relocate, regardless of your timeline, please consider reaching out to my team if you're resonating with these videos at all. Lastly, before you leave, check out the description box below. Free digital guides, free analytical tools, my website. There is going to be an ever-growing library of free resources there, so we would love for you to check that out. Most importantly, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.